did the
You
whole
became
thing.
Muslim.
Yeah, I converted.
We should have started. I might edit this podcast, put this at the beginning of it.
They're making it acceptable to have sex right away.
Sex complicates relationships.
The 6 months dating period is really an interview process. It's for anybody who is successful. I'm a firm believer in a prenuptial. A woman who will cheat, it's because she's checked out.
Do you think attention seeking is a red flag?
So I know where you're going with this because I'm online. I have tons of pictures online.
Green flag you should look for in a woman. Can men and women be friends? Yes, guys, what's going on? Sham here from Be Real TV, and I am pleased to say that we are joined by Gia Macool, all the way from Orlando, Florida. Gia, I'm pleased that you're joining us. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing amazing.
Fantastic. So Gia, you're a relationship coach, you're a model, you're a fitness professional, and the list goes on and on. Could you dive a little bit about your expertise and your background first for us?
So started coaching since 1998. And everything that I've built up today has been through experience and through passion, strictly through that. You don't need to go to college to do the things that I've done. And I have always never really understood anybody who kind of had that one dimensional limited belief where you can only be one thing, right? I've never been into that. I don't understand that mindset. I think that with everything in life, you go through, you learn, you set those passions, you get better at them. And from there, there's like little tree trunks where you can specialize and get better from there. So everything that I've done up to this point has led me to where I am today.
So how did you get started in the 90s and what got you into coaching? Where did you begin and how did your journey evolve?
Oh, okay. So long story. To make it a little shorter, one of my very first jobs was managing a women's gym. And I would walk 10 miles back and forth because I had no car. I was, 17 years old and I had nothing. I started from nothing. I've had to work for everything I've ever done. And so I would ride my bike or walk 5 miles up, 5 miles back. And from there, I really took a passion with fitness. I went and got my certificates for training, for coaching. Then I got into nutrition, did my nutrition consultant from there. I also started getting into the Europa shows, the Arnolds. When I would show up to these shows, I just had this, I wanted to be up there on the stage. That was what I wanted to do. And from there, I started having other people that were in the industry say, hey, why don't you come on over? You would be a great fit for our company. You can model our supplements. And so that's kind of how modeling led me into the whole thing. It was just another revenue source. And I'm a firm believer you can't have one revenue source. If you're gonna do well in life, you have to have multiple streams of income.
How has this impacted your marriage? Because I know you've been married for over 20 years, if I'm correct. You're obviously preaching traditionalism, but you're a power woman yourself and you've been in this game for a very long time. And how has this impacted your marriage over the long haul?
The only thing I did that maybe some women aren't doing today is they're making it acceptable to have sex right away as soon as they meet a man because they desire him, he desires her, and she doesn't want to lose him. And she's taking his word for it. She's taking what he says as the truth. And unfortunately, nobody is working hard to get to know each other on a relationship level as a friendship, earning that trust. I think that women and men could have these kind of relationships today, but they have to be willing to put in the hard work. I have spoken to many people in my relationship coaching that feel that it's okay to live with somebody before marriage. And I'm not judging anybody who does that. That is a great way to get to know somebody. But we are accepting very liberal extremes and wondering why we have a weak society if we're out of balance.
I do understand where you're coming from, but I think that if you go in blindly today, because as I said, there's many statistics which show body counts are going up, divorce rates are going up. We've got social media and things. Society has significantly changed now. And if you go into something blindly, and I'm not saying you sleep with the person, but I do think you need to be a bit more wary in today's day and age. And I am not an advocate with living with somebody before getting married to them. That's just my personal opinion. I don't want to push that on anybody else, but that's my personal belief. So I do agree with you to a large extent. But do you not feel, and I did realize there you were talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, but women holding the key there to whether they sleep with men, because the old adage goes that women are the gatekeepers to sex, and
Right.
that women are giving it up too easily. And when you're just giving it away so freely, that that commodity goes down. If tomorrow Bitcoin is no longer capped at 21 million, it goes up to 50 million, the value of Bitcoin drops. So if you're giving it away quickly and easily, your value is going to fall. Yes, guys, Sham here from Be Real TV. I am very sorry for interrupting your video. Just do me a quick favor. Click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And please go to the bell notification icon and set it to all. YouTube does not seem to want to pump my videos to my subscribers. I work very hard on this platform, and I would very much appreciate if you just did them two things to support me. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I'm in absolute agreement to that. And I think that, it's within the marriage that men and women become better people. We live in a society that they don't want to commit to owning a house. They don't want to commit to starting their own business. Everything is just very easy and quick. And it's within that struggle that you become better. So I know as a person, I became better in my marriage, and vice versa. He became a better person in our marriage. So you build, that's how you become strong, is through the struggle.
Is there a sweet spot when you're getting to know somebody? Because obviously you are a relationship coach. I'm sure you're involved in this sphere quite deeply. What should that time limit be? Is there a sweet spot there?
That's a good one. So everything has to be earned. Trust has to be earned. We have all these people. It used to be back in the day where you would meet somebody local, right? You only had your sphere of influence to really meet people. Now people are online. So what they're doing is they're meeting people across. You have to jump on a plane to see them. And what ends up happening there is that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of lies going on. And I'm very firm when I talk to people in my relationship coaching that the 6 months dating period is really an interview process. They're not even being real in that 6 months. You are not actually seeing the true person within that 6 months. So definitely you need longer than 6 months. And then even beyond that, the first 2 years, you're in a lust stage. So there is not that, you're not seeing all their little quirks about them until after the 2-year period. So that's why I'm not against people who say, well, I must end up I have to live with that person, because I understand. I've seen many people get into relationships, and after 2 years, this person has completely gone crazy. And so I believe you have to take your time. But definitely, I would say a 2-year is a kind of like a little sweet spot, if you want to call it. It gives it that time for you to get to know that person. And if you're living across countries and you're not close by, then it may take even longer. But have your boundaries, be very clear with your boundaries, and don't let anybody change those boundaries, because if either party changes the boundaries and you're not standing firm, then they're going to lose respect for you.
It's interesting because normally I'm speaking to guys on the channel about this stuff. So you're giving the perspective of a woman, and I imagine many of you, I'm guessing here, but your clients are predominantly female. Am I correct in saying that?
No, actually not. I have a mix. I have young, old, male, female. It's kind of crazy.
Okay, so let's dig into this area about taking your time. Now, the issue is, if you get into a marriage quickly, I don't know what it was like in the 90s, but I do know now, if you are involved in a marriage and it isn't successful for you, when you go through court and when you go through the divorce proceeding, if it doesn't work out for you, it is, I believe, very heavily geared towards women. And it's, if you're a guy, you're successful, you've got money, you're going to take a massive hit. I know several people who have taken huge hits when they've been married and it hasn't worked out for them. They find out the woman wasn't the person that they think, they wasn't. And you just mentioned that, right? In that first 6-month period, you're not dating the person, you're dating their representative, right? And this is the issue, right? Like, where you marry somebody too quickly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do think if you continue the dating process on for too long, you're going to eventually sleep with that person, which is also problematic. I think you're gonna mix a lot of issues there, and it gets and sex complicates relationships and marriage. As soon as you throw sex into it, it complicates the marriage, it complicates the relationship, good or bad. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Like, with regards to courts, and obviously you married your husband fairly quickly, but and he was the second person, but
I wouldn't say quickly, definitely not quickly. But
you
okay,
took your time.
yes, it took time. I would say that for anybody who is successful, I'm a firm believer in a prenuptial. Firm believer,
Oh wow, okay.
absolutely.
But
One,
what if the woman doesn't want to sign a prenup? What if
then
she
there's a
says,
problem.
that the trust needs to be
Then,
there? There's a
then there's
problem
a
there.
then there's a problem there. Then there's a problem there. 100%. The relationships that I have counseled that have done the prenuptial, uh, if at the times that they've had issues, it's saved them so many problems. And in today's world, you have to do that. No matter what, if you have built up a certain amount of wealth over time, you have to protect yourself. You have to know what you're doing. You have to, because you just don't know why they're there. And when money comes in, you see the true colors of people right away.
Agreed. Do you think there's a power struggle when there is either the female or the male in the relationship earns significantly more than the other, and how do you manage that, especially with your situation? Like obviously you're making a lot of money. I don't know what your husband's situation is, but when you have that situation where the woman is making more than the man, how do you deal with that power struggle that can occur?
I think that a lot of people, when they enter a relationship, they have this idea that what is mine is mine. And I think that that's really toxic in a relationship. When you get married to somebody, everything that's yours is theirs as well. So I don't go into my relationship with everything that I get that it's mine. It's ours. And that is how every single conversation goes. It's not an I, it's a we.
Very
And I think
interesting.
people should do that.
It's interesting because you hear a lot of these. You were talking earlier about labels, and I do agree with you. I think that we throw labels around, and there are certain criteria within the red pill community and different communities, But I think it's a case by. I always say this: it's a case by case basis, and I do feel that every relationship is different, and there's so many different intangibles, so many different variables that you need to throw into the equation. So I think that it can work. And when the woman is more successful, earning more money, if the mindset of the two people is right. So you've been married for 20 plus years now, Gia. And you mentioned on your Twitter that 4 things to a successful marriage is time, love, children, and balance. Could we go through each one of them? So what do you mean by time?
Time in a relationship is you build off each other, you grow, you got to be there to support him in the beginning. I think that everybody on social media gets this thing that everybody just is miraculously so successful overnight. Like everything, they think everything comes fast. And we have a lot of egos and arrogance on social media because they have this feeling that they have to fake it till they make it. But I don't know where they get this mentality. It's okay not to have everything. It's okay to start from nowhere. It's okay not to know everything. It's okay to ask questions. Money takes time. It takes time to build. I've been working. Look, I started in 1998. I mean, we're talking 2 decades of hard work every single day, consistent. Nothing was handed to me. People want to, being a female online, you hear the same kind of labels over and over again. And no, I wasn't handed anything. Nothing was given to me. It's not plastic surgery that I look the way that I do. It's hard ass work. It's taking care of yourself every single day. So that's what I mean by time, is take your time. You have your entire life to make money. That shouldn't be the focus.
Gia, I'm going to divert a little bit because there's a question I wanted to ask you, but you touched on it. Now, you've been going at this in the 90s, and they say you should never ask a woman her age, right? So I'm not going to ask you your age, but you do look absolutely radiant and you look lovely, right? How, for men can take TRT, they could take testosterone. And what can a woman do outside of the diet, the fitness training? How does a woman maintain her beauty into her
Oh,
30s, 40s, and 50s?
hormones. I've always been regular, checking my blood, making sure my hormone levels are where they need to be. I'm a firm believer. I don't like birth control. I don't think people understand what birth control does to women. It really messes up their system. You also don't want to do extremes when it comes to fitness. So that's one of the reasons why I got out of the IFBB, was because it kept demanding more and more extremes out of me, and it got to a point where it was taking away from my original purpose, my why, which is I got into it to be healthy, and I'm not gonna continue down a road for a trophy just to ruin the rest of my life, my future.
Yeah, I have heard that. It's a philosophical concept, is this? But everybody has a candle on if you burn it on both sides, the candle will burn out for men and women. So I do agree there. I don't know if there's any scientific research to back that claim up, but I do understand that.
Well, the universe has a tricky way of having cycles, right? So, like, we see our feminism, the extremes with feminism, and how now there is a offset online of hate toward women that is due to their extremes. So now we see, I don't even want to say red pill community, because I don't think it's coming from the real people who teach red pill. I think
No, I agree.
it's coming from men who have really, they believed in the hype, and they pursued women with huge red flags and ignored those red flags, and then got hurt when it didn't turn out their way. And instead of just realizing that there's a lesson to learn from that, and to keep trying and to get offline and go face to face and meet women in the real world, they don't want to do that work, so they just would rather just vent online.
I have spoken about this in the past that I do believe that people who obsess with uh, this dynamic and become hyper successful individuals, they're often making up for something they're lacking in their life,
Yes.
which I believe a stable marriage, a stable loving relationship fills a certain void in a human being that work, money can never fill. Do you agree with that?
Once you understand that contentment is an inner soul individual responsibility, it's not going to be met with how much you have, what house you have, what car you, it's right here. I am content doing laundry every day. I'm content cooking every day. I am happy at this because it's something that you have as an individual inside of you, the joy of helping others. And I think that that's where everybody kind of doesn't really understand that, because they haven't had enough experiences in life. Like, all these people right now, all this hate online is coming from people with very little experience in life. And that is why they're seeking out all the wrong advice, because it's feeding their desires.
So you mentioned earlier about a lot of people getting hurt and them carrying that baggage throughout until the next relationship. And I think this is something that goes understated in this conversation, is that there's a lot of talk about women carrying, a high notch count, a high body count, and them carrying baggage. Do you feel it's the same for men?
If a man has a larger body count, it's not going to stop him from having a good relationship with a woman, a loyal relationship with a woman, taking care of a marriage, children. He can do all of those things if he's had more women in his life. Versus a woman, it definitely changes her mindset.
How so? What's the difference there? How is the woman different to the man in terms of their mindset, and why is that the case?
Why is it the case? So we've heard about the para bonding, we've heard about, the chemical reaction, the scientific, right? But I think that beyond what is proven in statistics or studies, you can talk to countless women, and every single time they sleep with somebody, they love the next person less. The feminists are going to argue about this. I'm going to hear a lot of backlash. Oh no, it's not the same. Women can have sex like men. You know what? It's over and over and over again. You can bring up statistics. Women do not react the same way with multiple partners.
Interesting. Okay, let's go back to where we were talking about what it takes to have a successful marriage, because I think this is what separates you from a lot of people that I've spoken to. You actually have a long-term successful marriage, so you're talking from experience. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned the second one was love. How important is love in a marriage, and if it isn't there, can the marriage still work?
I get frustrated when I talk to people and they say to me, well, I just fell out of love with that person. I hear this a lot. And what they're doing is they're not understanding how love is. The first 2 years we spoke about it, there's a lust, And after that 2 years, you start to really understand their little inner, like you see what they slurp or they burp or what, all these little things start to really get at you after a while. And you start seeing the person like, okay, they're human now, right? You have to understand that there's going to be good years and there's going to be bad years in a relationship.
Okay.
So just because you are having a bad year with somebody and you're becoming resentful for, whatever they're doing, you're becoming resentful for it, does not mean that you're out of love with that person. The love that somebody has can diminish if you are not willing to work on it. You're going to change over time your wants and needs, and you have to be able to be realistic, know yourself, be self-aware, know if you're being unrealistic with those wants and needs, and then have a very blunt conversation with the person you love and let them know, hey, this is what I need going forward. Is this something that you're okay with? And if he says or she says, no, I'm not okay with this, then find a way to compromise in those wants and needs. There's never going to be a clear cut, oh, this is what I want. Okay, I don't want to give it to you. Well, then we need a divorce. This is where we're wrong in our society. Why are we allowing divorce to be an exit for every problem in our relationship? There shouldn't be. Divorce should not be a plan B. It should not even be in the works. You should try to work it out.
Jordan Peterson talks about this, that if you do have a get out clause, you will end up taking that get out clause. So you shouldn't even have it in your mind. But are there situations with people that you've worked with where you do see that there is a reason for a divorce, and what are them reasons? If you've had a situation where you've been like, yeah, do you know what? It's time to walk away.
I think cheating is a huge, huge one.
Same for men and women?
I think it's a disloyal move. I think that once somebody goes there, they're putting their selfish needs ahead of their wife or their husband.
Maybe I've misunderstood you there, right? But clarify this for me. You mentioned that women are selfish in that regard. Are you saying that women are selfish when it comes to cheating, and a man doing it is not selfish? Could you clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, men and women both are selfish. Whoever goes and cheats is selfish, man or woman. It's not going to be one or the other. If you have taken your own needs ahead of your husband or wife, you're selfish, period. It's not alleviating anybody of responsibility from it.
In history, wherever you look, like let's take Genghis Khan for example, right? He spreaded his seed all over, and there's been many emperors, many people of significant power in history who have had multiple wives, multiple partners, and their value doesn't degrade, their value actually goes up. Do you feel in today's day and age that you can have that same element where a man can have multiple women?
As long as it's something that he has already communicated to her that that's what his intentions are. I find that in any relationship, you have to be honest. Lying is one of the worst sins to me, because what lying does is it corrodes every other action therefore, right? So if you can make a lie real, then nothing sticks. There's no values, there's no boundaries, there's no reason for integrity. All of the other values go out the window. So if a man has the intention of having multiple wives or wanting to sleep around, he needs to communicate to her before there is a commitment there or marriage.
Do you think monogamous relationships are better?
Better. I think that and I'm going to go back down to being selfish. If you're selfish and you're not putting the needs of your family, your children, and your wife ahead of your own needs, there's going to be problems. You're going to bring heartache. You're going to bring problems in the relationship.
Which brings us on to the next part, number 3, which is, you mentioned children. How do children impact a relationship and a marriage, and how can it be a positive, a negative thing? Obviously, it can be both, but how does it impact?
It is, I would say, one of the main reasons why people get divorced, other than money. Children greatly impact a relationship going forward. It shows the unity between a man and a woman, because a child has to have 2 people to answer for in the house. And if they don't, if there's only one person they have to answer for, they will go to the other side and divide and conquer. And that is how children work. So you have to have a very solid foundation between the man and the wife. When a husband says something, that's what goes. A woman needs to back him up for that, and vice versa. If the mother has said something, the husband needs to back her up. It needs to be unity and very, very strong going forward. And I see too many single parents having children, and then they give the responsibility to their grandmother, to their mom, wherever, to raise the kid, and then those kids are enabled, and yeah, the rest is history.
What are the different roles for a man and a woman in raising children? Do you think that you should stick to their more traditional roles, or do you think that in today's society things are a bit different?
Okay, so what do you define traditional and
Mm.
today's roles in a parenthood? Like, tell me what you think is traditional for a man and a woman in child raising.
I love how you're challenging me, Gia. It's interesting. It's not.
Here's the problem. I think that, I hear it on Twitter, traditional. We're never going to go backwards. And anybody who
Mm.
wants to sit here and try to say that we need to go backwards, it's never going to happen. It's important to take the best of what was and the best of what is, and we need to blend those, and we need to find the balance. We're out of balance right now. That's what's happening.
I agree. I'm trying to find the truth myself. I'm trying to find the middle ground here because I've heard different perspectives, and the more perspectives I hear, my opinion keeps changing, and it's very strange because it's a journey for me as well. Like I'm in my early 30s, so I'm still learning as I go along. And it's funny because I've read quite a bit on this. I thought I knew what I was talking about, but that dynamic keeps changing the more and more people I talk to. So
I think
yeah,
that anytime somebody sets rules and labels, or they start grouping things, right? Liberal,
yeah,
conservative, traditional. As soon as you do that, you lose it, because we have to remember that man and women have desires. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if you try to tell somebody that they're not having that desire, they're going to do exactly the opposite. They're going to go find somebody who's going to tell them what they want to hear. We have to get back to character, your integrity, your honesty, mental fortitude, all the things that really make people become better in life. That's where we really should be taking. And I think that too many people are going towards selfish things. Oh, I want to cheat on somebody. Or I want to cheat because I want an experience. I'm not having enough sex at home, so I want to go out. Is that bettering? Who's that bettering? You. It's bettering you. It's not bettering anybody. It's not, you're bettering your children, your husband. So when we do things in a selfless way, it is always, always going to benefit us in the long run.
Which brings us on to the next part, okay, which is balance.
Mhm.
So, explain to me, in today's day and age, things have changed, as you've mentioned.
Mhm.
Over the past few thousand years, in every society, pretty much every society that we look at, men went out, they hunted, they worked,
Yeah.
and women stayed at home and they carried out these traditional roles. Now things have changed. Women have the ability to be able to go out to work now in Western society, throughout Europe, and even the East as well. Now, women have the ability to be able to pursue their ambitions, build their intelligence. Women have a lot of liberal freedoms now, which they did not have a few years ago, and things have totally changed. And we're experimenting day by day as we go along as a society. You're obviously based in the US and based in the UK. Things are slightly different, but generically speaking, the Western values are the Western values, and we're experimenting. And I do believe that they are adding to a breakdown in society. However, having said that, I do agree with you that times have changed, and you need to operate in the world you live in, not in the world you want to live in.
Right. Well, true intelligence is adaptability. Like, if you're going to continue to live in the past, you're not really truly intelligent, because we're not going to go back there.
But Gia, do you know, after all this time, males have traditionally been a certain way, women have been a certain way.
Right.
We have that innate within us, right? Like we have certain roles like that we are just, and
Absolutely.
we see this in statistics, right? Like if you look at the job market, if you look at childcare, for example, it's predominantly female dominated because nurturing is a part of a woman's
Right.
nature.
Mhm.
And so how do we draw that line there? Like what, like to be able to switch it like that, it's difficult, right? Like how do you draw
Why?
the
See,
line
here's
with that?
the thing. Like, why are we switching roles? Ask yourself that. Why do you think that we have this desire to switch roles? That's really, let's get down to the root cause, because like everybody wants to talk about the 2 steps, but they're not looking at the 10 steps.
Okay.
You look at the root cause. Our root cause is that it's upbringing. Always comes down to upbringing.
Okay.
So if we have weak parents or a weak parent raising a child,
Mm-hmm.
then naturally we're going to have a weak child grow into a weak adult.
Okay.
Why are we enabling children? As soon as they have a problem, we're there to pick them up when they fall. That's not doing anything for the child. The child has to fall, get up on its own to become stronger, right? So what do we have? We have a society that is enabling weak mentality. It's telling us we don't need to work for anything. We can have it tomorrow. We can have sex with a girl on the first date. If she doesn't want to give it to you, walk away. You go get plastic surgery. Don't go to the gym. Everything is developing weak people.
But what's causing this breakdown in the household? Because we no longer see mother, father, we see single parents, we see such a mix now. And I don't want to go into the more controversial topics, but it is very different now to what it once was. And in societies, in the Eastern blocs, particularly places like even China, Russia, so on and so forth, they are carrying the more traditional values. In the West, we have changed the dynamic of the home, and statistically, it isn't working.
Many times misguided as well, right? I believe the hype on social media. I got involved and surrounded myself with the wrong people. But what always pulled me back to a grounded space was my parents bringing up the Bible. Whenever I had questions, they would pull out the Bible and show me a scripture. So I think that we're losing that. We're losing spiritual guidance.
Do you feel that having the concept of God
Uh,
helps society?
you have to have more than a concept of God. You have to actually have faith. You have to actually believe that there's a higher power than you. There's something beyond you, right? So once you understand that things in life are done bigger than yourself and concentrate on who you are, those values, those beliefs, those boundaries, that's when things start coming into play. That's when you become successful.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's continue on this relationship topic. Okay, so I had a question which doesn't really tie into this, but it's slightly different. Can men and women be friends?
Oh, okay. So there was a time that I believed that men and women could be friends. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you
There
don't
was
believe
a
it.
time. So I'm not going to sit here and like bash anybody who is not knowledgeable enough to have the experience in life. So that's why I think people go back and forth on Twitter about it, because there's just not enough people who have seen somebody who they considered a friend try to have sex with them. So when you experience somebody who you thought was a friend actually try to do something beyond being a friend with you, that's when you realize it cannot be done. Now, I have seen, that's not to say you cannot have acquaintances. So my husband has plenty of male friends, and I will check on them. I will, when we go on get-togethers, I cook, for all of them. But I'm not going to call them and ask their advice on, or ask to go hang out without my husband with them. There's a difference. You have to have that common sense.
So, Gia, you're doing you're doing coaching with people regarding their relationships. What is the most memorable individual or couple that you have coached, and why?
I've known some crazy, crazy bitches in my life. Let's just say that.
Okay,
And what I mean by that, I have seen women be crazy. So that's why I understand why men go, oh, all women are crazy. Because I have literally watched with my own eyes my father, my brothers, my husband's ex-wife. I've watched these women do some horrible, conniving, damaging things. And I have fought them in court. I've taken them to court. I've protected my brothers, my father with us. I have raised a child that was not my own because his mother abandoned him and cheated. I have, yeah. So I think that I understand where men come from, but not all women are crazy. Unfortunately, women are mirrors to their environment. And what I mean by that is if they are in a bad environment, they're going to respond like that. They're not able to really see things. Unfortunately, many are not able to see things rationally.
Gia, I've got a question, just a generic question here, right? But kind of on what you're saying, you talk differently about men and women when it comes to these things. So you mentioned there that you've seen some crazy women in your time, but why is that not the same? Why is the same not apply to guys as well? Are guys, do you not meet guys who are like absolute lunatics as well?
Okay,
I feel like I'm defending women here, but yeah.
you're right. You're right. Okay, so I have been online for well over 14 years. I have
Mm,
had some crazy things done to me falsely by men. Okay, so I'm not alleviating any one side. But
yeah,
when you asked me what was a memorable coaching experience that I had,
yeah.
it was a person who had waited very, very long. He was very successful, had a huge status. He took a long time to vet. He found this woman who he thought, was going to be the mother of his children, got married, did everything right, did the 2-year dating. They lived together beforehand. When I mean memorable, it's something that you can't even make a book about stuff like this. It's so crazy, the crimes. So that was the most memorable for me because I really opened my eyes to how
How bad and toxic a situation can get for guys. No, I 100%, I understand where you're coming from.
that's why I'm a firm believer that you do have to be around somebody when you're dating them for long periods of time. And there's no better way to get to know them by not living with them, right? Because that's how you're going to see those red flags. But yeah, so I saw the red flags. I let him know right off the bat what was going on, and I disassociated myself with her. And then
Okay.
the chips had to fall from there. But instead of blaming men or women, right? Women are crazy, men are crazy. Let's start learning how, as individuals, to better ourselves, become better people, and then filter out these people that we're surrounding ourselves with. And that's what I try to tell anybody that I'm coaching.
So what are some of the green flags you should look for in a woman? Because like I think you need to approach life with a glass is half full than the glass is half empty, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, one, her upbringing. Her upbringing, I can't say that enough. Make sure she has a good relationship with both her mom and her dad. See if
Okay.
her mom and dad have been divorced.
Hmm.
See if she was raised by a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
From there, ask if she wants to have children. Ask if she wants to have pets. I always say if a man or woman right off the bat is like, no, I don't want a dog, or I don't want a cat, or I don't want that's like that shows selfishness. If somebody
Okay.
says that, beware.
Okay.
Um, then, certain things like how are they treating the people around them? Who do they hang out with? Does she go out with regularly with girlfriends? And are those girlfriends all single or are they married? Right? If they're all single and they got tattoos on them and they're partying at the clubs, red flags. So I mean, I don't know, you want me to keep going on, but
No, keep going. I'm interested. Keep
yeah.
going.
So, like, how does she take care of her appearance? Is she taking care of herself hygiene wise? Does she believe in health? Is she drinking all the time? Is she smoking? How many relationships has she had? Ask her that question. You need to ask these questions in the beginning. Is somebody on time? That's another one. If you make a date with her and she's not on time,
Hmm.
that shows selfishness. It shows that she is not thinking about the other person. She's not respecting the other person's space. And don't allow it. If she shows up late, don't open the door. Don't answer the call. You know what? Let her know she fucked up. People need to learn that there's accountability for their actions. And if they start learning that they're going to lose something, that's when they learn. They have to lose.
Do you think attention seeking is a red flag?
So I know where you're going with this because I'm online. I have tons of pictures online and I hear it every single day. Oh, you need validation. You have pictures up. Here's the thing is that when I started in the industry, we're talking 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
I, at the time, did modeling and I
Okay.
had a swimwear line. I had certain different magazine things. So when I started shooting, I did not have the experience that like I do now. Okay.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's just life. You have to live and learn. I made my mistakes. I know where I made my mistakes. I'm not doing them going forward. Do I look for validation? Well, guess what? If you're online, you need validation. Period. Anybody online trying to build a business, making money online has to make a presence. They have to be seen.
We live in a attention economy. I agree.
There's going to be a certain point of it that I'm sorry, it is what it is. I can shut down all my social media pages tomorrow and get out of it. Trust me, I've thought about it a million times. But the fact of the matter is, I'm married. My man goes through anything that I do, I okay with him. As long as he's okay with it, that's all that matters. And that's how I live my life. And whatever people want to say online, let them say. I know myself.
No, I can sense that in your. I can hear the authenticity in your voice. I think there is a distinct difference, right, to somebody who's doing it for business purposes and somebody who's doing it simply for attention seeking. I think generations have genuinely changed. I know I sound like an old broken record here, but I do think things have changed so drastically. The things women do, forget clubs, the things women do on TikTok nowadays is insane. It's like they're, and I'm not saying all women, obviously, but I think some women who do this stuff is kind of animalistic and it lacks human decency.
Yeah,
And but I also think the guys as well are completely classless nowadays. I think, like I said, it's not everybody, but there is a large contingent of the younger generation who are doing things which is just completely bizarre. And if you were to take them back to the 1970s, people would look at this and they would scratch their heads like, "What am I looking at?"
what has happened over the course of a decade is that women had to get more and more raunchy to get attention. It's
Yeah.
all stems down to, like, we hear on Twitter, oh, this, that, the other, don't push picture. But I'm telling you, they say it and then they're right up there in her comments, being thirsty. So it's changed over the years, and women have had to do more and more and more to make their money. And that's where we fall into OnlyFans and we fall into escorts and all these girls. They have literally been rewarded from this behavior.
No, just me. I can speak for myself personally. I, as a man and as a person, I refuse to give validation to a woman who obviously has received countless validation from countless guys. What is the benefit going to be? It's going to be completely
Exactly.
counterintuitive. Even if I wanted to get with her, that is not the way to do it. Because how many guys have come up to her and told her, "Hey, you look sexy." She'll have got that every day for the last God knows how many years. And I think it's not the way to go about it.
Exactly.
What age, Gia, is the best time for a man to get married in your eyes?
Ooh, I think men need to take their time. I think men can be, I've seen men wait till their 50s to get married, like that one client that I was telling you about. But the only thing that I warn men on is the more and more you get used to social norms, like you get used to liberal norms, right?
Yeah,
Having
yeah, yeah.
women freely, doing things that aren't conducive to a relationship, the more
Mm.
it's going to be harder for you to move into a relationship. So
You
it's
get used to it. You get used to society and the liberal norms, and you can't exit outside of what you're used to. You can't
exactly. So
adjust to a
whatever
marriage.
you get used to, beware, because that is going to enter into your relationship, and then now you have the baggage coming into the relationship, and that's where the problem stems. Like, I think that a lot of the relationship advice that you see online, it sounds good on paper, but as soon as you take it out in the real world, it doesn't work. Like, yes, it would be great for every man to find a 20-year-old virgin, right? Who never was online, never had an Instagram profile. And that would be, it sounds beautiful. It's a great idea, but does it actually extend into real life? I see all these men going outside of the United States. They're going Asia, UK, wherever. They're trying to find these women. They're bringing these women back. These women are manipulating them, getting them
Mm.
married, getting pregnant right away, and then doing the same thing that a Western woman is going to do to them. So we have to be a little bit better than that.
More intriguing question then on the back of that. What age should a man be looking for in a woman?
Oh, okay. I'm
Ideally, I know it's not fully across the board.
I don't believe in the whole. Everybody's gonna have their preference. Okay.
Yeah,
If a man prefers a younger woman, good for him. I don't see
yeah.
anything wrong with that. I think that, the less experiences that she's had, in other words, the less baggage she's had, the better you are off. So there's nothing wrong with a man saying that I want to be with a 20-year-old. But at the same time, you can't expect a man who is a certain way to go somewhere else and act like a king. Like whoever you are as a person, you're going to attract that energy in return. So if you have bad morals, you are selfish, you are a jerk, well, guess what? You're going to find a woman who's selfish and a jerk. So however you are as a person, you're going to find the same thing in return.
Do you believe in the concept that women are in their peak value? And I'm just going to say this outright, that I am not, and you can disagree. I don't agree with this whole high value, high woman thing. I think it's BS, to be honest. I think that it's individual by individual. I don't think money defines your value. I think there's a lot of things that define someone's value. And this is not because of my own financial status. Like, I've done all right well for myself, and but I just genuinely don't believe that money is the thing. I've met a lot of rich, wealthy people. Let me tell you, like, as you go up the stratosphere of wealth, you meet a lot more dickheads than you do when you're. I'll give you an example. When I'm training in a high posh end area, and the gym is very upmarket, I don't gel with them people. When I go to a gym which is a backstreet gym, and some of them guys are very rough, very masculine, maybe some of them might be drug dealers, but I will find that I get along with them a lot better. They are far more down to earth. They're more likely to be loyal, in my opinion, as well, and they're more grounded people. I just genuinely believe that, and I think that this whole high value man, high value woman thing is BS. But
It's a
do
label.
you? It's a label, isn't it? Right, that's exactly what I mean. It's a label. But do you think, generically speaking, that women peak in value at a certain age, or round about a certain age?
Well, because it comes down to having children. So if a woman is, out of her, we already know that it's best to have a child in your 20s, even mid 30s. Like, past that, you are risking your health to have a child. So that's what this comes down to. It comes down to women who are waiting to their 30s, and then all of a sudden the time clicks. Oh, I need to find somebody now. No, you should have thought about that in your 20s.
But do you not think, like, late 20s, early 30s is where a woman matures mentally and she's actually ready to settle down? And also, they'll be from a different generation to a girl who's, let's say, 22 years old, 21-year-old. She will have a very different mindset.
At 17,
Okay.
I knew what I wanted. I worked hard. I had my first house at 18 years old.
But that was a different day and age, right? It was a different day and age. It was a different
No,
era.
no, I don't believe in that. I stand firm. I don't believe in that. I've met, had conversations, had friendships with women, and I'm telling you that I have seen women 30, 35, 36, 38 still have the mental state of where I was when I was 17. And there's no excuse for immaturity. I'm sorry. I'm not going to subscribe to this. Well, she has got to grow and know herself. No, if they have good upbringing and they've been taught from a good mother and a good father, women know what they want early on. And if she doesn't, it's because she's had a poor upbringing. The whole thing about women and the age thing, what is your opinion on it? I want to hear yours.
Wow, Gia, you're testing me. Okay, look, I'll tell you. I think that when a woman is between the ages of, let's say, below the age of 25, I think she's born in a certain day and era where things have drastically changed. She's brought up around social media. She's brought up around norms which didn't exist a few years ago, and I think there is a significant difference in the generation. I have a lot of friends that I went high school with who are happily married and have children now, and their mindsets are completely different to a girl who's 22, 23. Having said that, I do agree with you that having children is a major thing, but I think that there is a sweet cutoff point, and I do believe that if you find a good girl between the ages of 20 and 25 with good morals, good ethics, and you find a girl who's got good morals and ethics between the ages of 25, maybe 30, 32, that sort of age is okay. You are obviously risking the children factor and their health, But in reality, as you said yourself, right, this isn't a laboratory experiment. This is real life. And it's difficult to go out there and find a girl who it ticks all these different boxes. So if you are lucky and you do find anybody, you have to sometimes sacrifice, right? If you find the perfect woman and she is about 29, 30, 32, I think you should go for it. I think that if you find a girl who's 22 and she's perfect, if you're not settling with her, then you're an idiot. And I think that's how I break it down.
I like your perspective. I love that perspective because it comes down to that. It comes down to you're not going to have perfection in
No.
anything you do. I don't have a perfect marriage. I'm not perfect. He's not perfect. No, you're never going to have perfection. And if that's what you're searching for, then you might as well just be used to being alone.
I could tell you now, Gia, I remember when I went to high school and the girls in my high school, the ones which we thought were bad eggs, if you put them in today's society, they would be the best of the best, the creme de la creme. And nowadays it's completely bizarre. The percentage of getting a woman who's like, I'm not even talking about like, oh, is she a virgin? No, I'm just saying like a normal person. You don't see normal people out there. The guys, and this is the thing, we're talking about a notch count, or if the girl has a notch count below 30, below 30. What are you serious? Like, is this what I didn't think that we'd ever come to this day and age.
I still am not convinced that everything on social media is true. When I go out in the real world and I talk to people, I can have conversations with all sorts of mindsets and we can all have discussions, civil discussions. But as soon as we go on social media, it's this, I don't know.
Do you know what the other thing is as well, Gio, right? Do you know this whole high value man concept? I'll tell you something, right? I have the confidence to be able to walk up to any woman and I don't care, right? I will speak to them, whatever their height, whatever their age. I have the confidence to be able to do that. I have that. But let me tell you, the issue comes when you have wealth and you are going up to women like randomly like that. What type of woman are you going to speak to? Where are you going? Are you in a club? Are you in a bar? Are you in a shisha bar? Where are you? Are you on the street? You know, what are the chances of you meeting a woman who's going to be good for your life? Very, very minimal. So especially in today's day and age. So this whole high value thing, as you go up the echelons of wealth and success, and you have a good physique, they're gonna get, if look, okay, right, like I'm in decent shape. If a woman is attracted to me solely for my shape, what happens the day where I don't know, I break my leg or something happens to me and I lose my physique? Is she gonna run off with another guy who's got a better physique than me?
That's why I don't like the high label, high value. And I actually, for a while there, I was writing tweets using that label because it's a very baity kind of tweet, right? It baits people in. But I stopped using it for that exact reason. I said, enough with it, enough with it. What makes her high value? What makes him high value? Because everybody has their perception of what is high value. And not just that, but you know, you have to think about it like this. Everybody has a perception of what they want and they have preferences. So if a man says, well, I want a 20-year-old who has big boobs and long hair, you know, that to somebody else is like, oh, she's fake. She has her boobs done. You know, like everybody has their own version of what high value is. I think it's funny. You're Muslim, no?
I am Muslim, Gia. Yes, I am. Yes.
So it's funny because I came from, my family's traditional Lebanese.
Oh wow! Okay.
So we have.
I love Lebanese food, by the way. Out of all the Arab food, it's the only good one. I probably might get in trouble for that. Yeah.
I lived off of cooking Lebanese, and my husband's Puerto Rican, so he did. It's funny. He served in the army, and he was in Lebanon, and he hated Arabic people. Like he said that they were like terrorists to him. So
he actually went there, and that's how he felt. Wow.
I laughed because I said, "Be careful what you wish for, because God is going to give you exactly what you hate." Because you ended up with an Arab woman, you know. So I start cooking. He loves his Puerto Rican, so I make everything Puerto Rican for him. He's not big on the Arabic food.
It's interesting. This is because when you. Do I really want to go into the? Okay, let's go down the rabbit hole. Okay, right. I haven't spoken about religion myself on this channle yet, but
don't. I mean, it's up to you. You can leave it out.
We'll go into it a little bit. I think for myself, with regards to religion, I have found that people with religious principles, they tend to get through life's challenges a lot better than those without it, because there is maybe it's a fear of God, maybe it's the belief in the afterlife, and that acknowledging on that, and maybe it's something larger than that. Maybe it is divine
I think
intervention.
it's hope. I think that's why we're seeing a lot of suicides, male suicides. I think people are giving up. They're losing hope. So I think when you're raised with that, you have faith, you have hope. You know there's something bigger than yourself. So you don't do things in a selfish way.
There's concepts.
The first guy I ever dated was Muslim. So,
wow, what was that experience like? Yeah.
of course, I went through the whole thing, converted, did the whole thing.
Muslim?
Yeah, I converted.
I might edit this podcast, put this at the beginning of it. Okay, so tell me, what was it like dating a Muslim?
I don't really bring it up a lot. I don't talk about it. But yeah, I mean, that's what a woman does. They're submissive to the man. They take on his last name. They take on his, his beliefs and his values. So
does it still impact you till today? That first relationship?
Of course. That's why I keep saying people need to understand that women who go from relationship to relationship, it really does change their blueprint. It changes their mindset. But I wouldn't take it away because it was a lesson learned. So
absolutely no, I agree. Can't go back and change time. It's not we saw Back to the Future, right? And we don't want something like that repeating. We learn from our scars.
Yeah.
Gia, it has been absolutely lovely speaking to you. I'm going to say it one more time. It has been fantastic speaking to you. I hope we speak again in the future, and I'm sure we'll be in contact. Any message for our viewers?
I just want to I appreciate you bringing me on. I was really excited to meet you. Do this podcast. I think that I have been very hesitant on doing podcasts. I'm very selective on what I do. I don't just meet with everyone. I don't do every little podcast. I've been invited to do a lot of different things. I won't do it because if I know that it's not going to be beneficial to everybody and the message is not going to be received, then I don't do it. I'm not online to reach the masses. I'm online to really, help one person at a time. And I think that's really what we need in the world, is that everyone needs to change per individual. And that's how we make real changes.
I will say this. I have met several people who, from the boxing world to influencers, and I think that we live in a day and age now where many people judge a person's value by their followers and their hype. But I'll tell you something else as well, that this is just my personal perception. People of faith, of religion, don't always function like that. I mean, obviously you do get some, but I do think that religion also plays a role in that, and faith plays a role in that, and I think a belief in God as well does impact that. It's been an interesting journey for me going through these podcasts with people, and I'm growing as I go along, but this is what I feel. So yeah.
Tell me, what is your background? Like, when did you start podcasting? When did you get involved with all of this?
Okay, so I started this channel about, I think, 9 years ago. I started just talking about boxing on a personal channel, and I didn't know what I was doing. Must have been about 19, 20 years old, talking rubbish and talking about boxing. And then I had I don't know if you know the boxer Amir Khan.
Yes.
So Amir Khan tweeted me. We had a bit of back and forth, and there was a bit of an argument there. But I was an advocate for Amir Khan's supporter, and spoke to him on the phone. And he was like, "Why don't you come down and do an interview with me?" I got the bad end of the stick, and I went and did my first interview with Amir Khan. That kicked off, and then from Amir Khan, I interviewed Tyson Fury. After I interviewed Tyson Fury, I did interviews with Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, and I went on this rabbit hole, right, like of this journey at like 21 years old by that time. I was very young, and I started doing interviews with all these boxers. And back in them days, the social media world was very different, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I did that for a few years, and it blew up. It did quite well, but I decided I wanted to take some time out. I wanted to pursue my studies. I wanted to do a master's. I did a master's in investment and finance, and I took time out of the whole game. And I still like boxing, but it's not really what I want to do now. I felt like I've grown a lot. I've read a lot. I've experienced a lot. So I'm on this different pursuit now, but I still have a lot of connections. In when you're in that boxing world, you meet different people, and I've still got some of them same skills which are required to run a social media platform. So I've re-kicked things back up, and we'll see how things go. So that's like a brief summary of my journey, Gia.
Did you feel like your initial pursuit was taking you more away from who you were, like as an individual, and trying to steer you into what they want, and that's what made you go into the podcast world? Like, you were able to really help people the way you wanted to going toward podcasts?
I feel like as you get older, you change as an individual, and boxing is a sport which I will always love boxing, but it's no longer the person I am, and it no longer serves my purpose of what I want to do in life. And I do believe there's a book called Ikigai that you need to. It's a Japanese philosophy of finding something that you love, something that impacts people, something that you can make money off, and something that's realistic as well. So I feel like this is my calling. This is my Ikigai. So this is why I've got into it.
You hear like, oh, women need to stay out of the podcast world, and if they really want to make a difference, they need to do this or whatever, right? Like you hear that online because I hear that. Oh, stay out of the podcasting world. You're not making a change. But I think that what we're failing to understand is that people want to be, they want to be able to talk about things. They want to be able to get guidance from people, and that's why podcasts are so impactful because they need an outlet. They need to find answers. And so I don't think that we should be like only, guys be on podcasts or only girl. I think we need more people who are genuine and actually want to help. We need more people doing that. And
Can I run something by you though, Gia, since you're a woman?
Mhm.
Okay. I have found that I've tried to focus on men's excellence, and the reason being is this: I don't have a lot of female viewers, and I'm being presumptuous here, but I assume it's because women are not into the things which men are into. They are just coherently different. When I did boxing, I didn't ask for females not to join the to not follow the channel. And I find that when I talk about these topics, it's predominantly men who are following me. It is not women. I mean, there is a small contingent of women who are following, but I do also believe that women are into makeup, and I'm stereotyping there, but women are into makeup, women are into beauty, they're into the sort of a large proportion of what they watch will be related to that.
So the majority, I would say over 89% of the women online are very much in their bubbles. They're not aware of anything else going on around them.
Mm,
It's the reason why they use filters. It's the reason why they get involved with the beauty products, because they're so concentrated on their physical appearance that
mm,
they aren't working and prioritizing their being, who they are. And
mm.
so until you can concentrate on your true being, is when you can start helping people, because you have to be vulnerable enough to say, I fucked up, I made mistakes, I'm not perfect. You have to be no filters, and women don't want to do that. They want to be, put up on pedestals. And this is where you're right. It's very hard for any man online to not turn misogynistic, because I've been called misogynistic for just pointing out the facts of women. And I have vowed always, even before social media, that I was never been like that. I don't know. People say I care too much, that I should care less. I don't think so. I think that we need more people that care.
I think that the word misogynist is thrown around so much, and I didn't know what this word was a few months ago. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just being honest with you. I didn't know what a misogynist was.
Yeah.
And I would definitely not categorize myself as a misogynistic person. I think a lot of people who are called misogynists online, again, it's a label. And I hate these labels for that particular reason, because it's easy to, there's something I've spoken about this in the past, that there's something called a evil man theory, that if a leader does something wrong, they get categorized as everything that they've done is completely wrong, and that's just simply not the case. And we attach labels to people to not listen to everything that they've got to say. I'm not going to mention names in the political world, but there are definitely figures. Obviously, there's a very well-known ex-president in the United States who also gets thrown a certain label and attachments, and there's influencers, very famous
Oh,
influencers.
Trump. Is it Trump?
Yeah, but this is it, right? Like, you can't label people with, and it's just accusations, right? And there's things which are thrown, and there's agendas behind it. There's so much involved in it, but when you attach a label to someone, it just doesn't work. And I think that we throw around labels so much nowadays, and that is a large component as to what is destroying society. You're a misogynist, you're sexist, you're a fascist. You can't carry beliefs and opinions, and I do believe certain opinions can be dangerous. I do believe there is a fine line there, but we've just gone into a crazy world now.
Well, and so just a touch back where you said that women do have different interests than men. So you are right about that. And that's why I'm a firm believer that women and men can't be friends. because why would you want to be friends with somebody who doesn't even share in the same interest as you? Like,
Women
unless,
are more empathetic though, and you can speak to women about things that you can't talk to guys about. But then
except,
you're running dangerous territory there, right? Because if you're talking about your relationship problems, then shoulder to cry on is no longer just a shoulder to cry on, right?
I will say though, you know, when I used to do just primarily modeling and I didn't get into any podcasting or YouTubes, everything was rosy and nice and everyone was nice. And as soon as I start talking and touching on real topics, that's when I can tell you the matrix bites back, because it doesn't want you. It wants women to be perceived a certain way and men to be perceived another way. It wants the divide. So as soon as a woman comes in that has any voice beyond what they want the narrative, they attack you. And I can tell you that I have had, you know, some things stolen from me and my husband that never should have been in the media. They're using that against me right now. And
Hmm.
like, when I tell you that the matrix is real and they will attack truth, it's 100% real.
It's interesting. I've been battling with that sort of concept of of the matrix. I do have an understanding of the way, a vague understanding. You know, I'd be lying if I said I have a deep understanding, because in reality, to have a deep understanding about this stuff, you really have to go down a rabbit hole. But I believe that you should curate the reality around you, focus on those around you in your life rather than focusing on what's going on macro level. I think you should have a touch on what's going on in the world of politics. You should have an idea of business. You should have an idea of what technologies are developing, but the whole point is to make your life better and the life of your loved ones. You should not be overly concerned with what's going on in the world if your shit isn't in order. That's what I truly believe.
Exactly. 100%.
Gia, lovely speaking to you.
It
Third
was,
time we're saying goodbye now.
if you need anything at all, you know, like, stay in touch with me. I'm following you now. I got your Instagram page, I got your Twitter. So anything that you need at all, just let me know.
Bless you. Thank you so much, Gia. It's lovely speaking to you.